just going around the horn here, Chamath, did you have a favorite moment on stage, a favorite moment off stage? Well, what is your general impressions of the All In Summit 2022?
I thought the people I met were really impressive. I really enjoyed meeting people and learning what they did. I also thought you and your team organized really an incredible event. And I forgot how good you are at these things, but so I give you a lot of credit. I really enjoyed participating. The only thing that I was nervous about during that whole thing, which probably limited a little bit of my fun, was my mom was coming. She's 81. And so I was not super psyched to really be in the throes of all the parties, to be honest, just because I was like, I didn't necessarily want to get COVID, and then I didn't want to introduce it to her. And
got it. Yes.
Nat ended up getting really, really sick, but more like a flu and a cold.
Yeah.
Sure. But I've been fine. My mom's fine. I know a bunch of folks that came out, unfortunately tested positive. So that's the only downside where I would have wanted to be a little bit more carefree, but that was the only thing but that's not in anybody's control. So
yeah,
but I think it was great. I recall that when I had a Christmas party back in December,
here we go.
And J. Cal got COVID like a week later. He called my Christmas party a super spreader, even though I tested everybody at the door. Every single person was negative. At this, the All In Summit, AIS. So my parents went to this conference. They both got COVID. My aunt, who lives in Miami, who's in her 70s, she got COVID.
How are they doing?
Are they okay, by the way?
Are they
they're
okay?
Doing good. Yeah, they're
most
doing
important.
Good. It's Omicron. It was like, it's like bad for 2 days and then you get better. So they're going to be fine.
Did they get Paxlovid or no?
Yeah, one did and one didn't. So
my brothers got COVID, and
so your brothers got it.
Which one, Josh or
Josh
Jamie?
and Jamie both got it, and then Josh's wife got it, so she took the Paxlovid, and everybody's great now. But yeah, if you go to a lot of people who came to the event, it was their first time out. Like, this was, for a lot of people, I think, very emotional and exciting because it was their first venture out. And if you go to Miami to a conference, like, you're going to get
COVID, especially if the event organizer doesn't test anybody.
It's impractical to test 850 people. Nobody would come. Like,
not if you want to make a profit, right?
Nah, it wouldn't have actually been that expensive. You could put that on the people. They could just, share their result. But I think at this point, even on the planes going out there, nobody's wearing masks. I don't know if you know. Well, you guys are flying private, but my flight out there, it was all, nobody's wearing masks anymore. But
anyway,
David,
J. Cal, I think everybody who went to the conference took the risk upon themselves of getting COVID, and it's not the end of the world or anything. They're all fine. But I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy.
My hypocrisy.
Yes, exactly. It's like you're like Nancy Pelosi or something, where criticizing every time a Republican gets COVID, it's their fault.
Yes.
But when you throw a super spreader, and I think AIS now stands for All In Super Spreader.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. It was well beyond your control. It was the virus.
Absolutely.
And in fact, it was probably just Florida. It was DeSantis' fault.
It was Miami. Yes, it's DeSantis' fault. In fact, I was going to bring it up.
That's how this stuff works.
That both of you now have thrown super spreader events.
Yes.
But in mine, I tested.
Yeah.
It's not even proven that mine was a super spreader.
All right. In all seriousness, did you have a favorite moment on stage or some reflections on the event?
I thought the Elon thing was really good, by the way. And then the only thing I'll say is the Palmer Luckey thing was pretty incredible.
Which we will be releasing the Palmer Luckey episode next week.
I'm excited to see that. I think that episode is eye-opening.
Yeah, we don't want to say too much, but
I think that you were I think you handled yourself really well there.
Oh, thank you for that.
Chamath, what actually happened? I wasn't there for that portion. I haven't heard anything about it.
We gave a mini summary here of it, I guess.
I'll give you the outside-in version. He gives what I can only describe as an incredibly motivating breakdown of American defense and what his company... And, you have to remember, to put it in context, this is a 29-year-old young man who has now started 2 multi-billion-dollar unicorns. So, he's going to be around for a long time doing amazing things. But he talks about Anduril, which is his defense company. Really impressive. And then the whole, everybody's kind of like rousing and cheering and applauding. And then he said, I have something else that I want to get off my chest. And I was standing beside Jason backstage. Jason was looking at the monitor. I was looking at the mirror at myself, but and
checking your sweater.
And he said, there's a person here that has been, really hard on me, tried to ruin my life, attacked my family, and represents, this strain of very influential people in Silicon Valley who have gotten it totally wrong, basically. And he called out cancel culture, and then he called out JCal. And to JCal's credit, after he was done, JCal was the first one that walked out on stage, shook Palmer's hand, and then we all sat down, we talked to him, and then the two ended up hugging it out at the end. But there were moments that were very heated in the middle of it. The whole thing was incredible to watch. I got to be honest with you.
It was super dramatic. Yeah.
Incredible.
I would say
incredible.
the most shocking and surprising aspect of the whole thing was that a person as important as Palmer Luckey felt the need to get revenge on a person as unimportant as Jason Calacanis.
That was the part I mentioned when he's like, my career was.
When he said important people in Silicon Valley, I initially thought, oh my God, he's talking about me. What did I say?
Like,
and then Jacob.
I was thrown by that too, if I'm being honest. He's like, my entire career was stopped in its tracks, and I had to claw my way back because Jason Calacanis said this, and I was like, no. Actually, no.
I'm looking forward to when you.
It's going to be a great episode. It's going to be coming out next week. Thank you to all the speakers.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Glenn Greenwald, Matt Taibbi, and Antonio Garcia Martinez for appearing. And we did two different panels. We did one on domestic politics with Glenn and Taibbi, and then we did a debate on Ukraine, which has now been published between Glenn and Antonio. And particularly, I want to thank Antonio because it did end up being a little bit of a 2-on-1 at the end, which wasn't my intention, but I have my own views on it too. Although I did try to be somewhat restrained and even-handed in the moderation. But it's a really good debate. We should have had longer. We only had about 30 minutes. But you can see that online right now.
It actually is a great example of actually how to listen to somebody else having a completely diametrically opposed view and still be respectful. I thought those guys were great to listen to.
I think it's a new format, Sacks, and I think, somebody was like, hey, maybe you and JCal could do it. I think you and I moderating like two people on different sides, it could be like a really interesting format for us for future events. Brad, did you have a favorite moment on stage, maybe outside of Elon? Of course, you can mention that.
Well, I would say, maybe both on stage and off stage. I think this podcast has taken some shots, and probably appropriately so, at times, for being a bunch of men, a little bro culture, and the effort made to build authentic community and diversity into that room. I've been to a lot of conferences, whether it's Claire Thielke, Patty Wexler, extraordinary, minds, women, all diverse cultures, economic backgrounds. When we walked around the floor, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, everywhere, right? And who were starting companies, having authentic conversations, and frankly, were grateful for the community and the advice that they were being given. These were from big startups to very small startups. And so for me, that was a highlight. The effort you made, I don't know, almost 40% women, both economic, I thought, as well as, geographic diversity. And then, listen, I had a moment after Gurley and I got off stage. I was stopped by a group of founders and they said, hey, we need your help. I said, what? And they said, we are that company you and Bill were just talking about and said was screwed. We raised $100 million last November from Tiger at 100 times ARR. What do we do? Right? And like the fact that that those conversations are going on, of course they're not screwed, and it's a very interesting company, but it led to a real conversation that you don't often have at conferences like that. And so I thought it was much more than just a bunch of talking heads on stage. I thought it was a real give and take in the in the crowd afterwards, the parties, the in-betweens. And so I really enjoyed that.
The other big thing that we avoided failing on was putting back the AMAs. I think these AMAs are some of the most interesting parts of that conference, and I think that we should make sure that we probably do an AMA, Jason, like both days if we do a 2-day conference. The AMAs were awesome.
Yeah, when the audience is asking us, and just to explain to people how we were able to, curate the audience. we asked people, I think it's a good playbook for other people if they want to steal it, to they could pick the price they wanted to pay based on their station in life. And so people said, I want to come, I'll pay $500, I'll pay $1,000, I'll pay $2,500 instead of the $7,500 ticket price, which was like 300 people in the audience. And we just said, hey, what do you love about the show? What would coming to the conference mean to you? And we kind of just sorted that, and we looked for people who are passionate about the show. And then, the thing that stuck out to me, and I know Friedberg had a great time as well, was the passion of the audience and how much they appreciate what we do here every week. And so the love that we got, people asking to take selfies, people telling us what the show meant to us, and people coming from all different stations in life, really, it made it not elitist, but it felt like the people who were there were all builders. And that was really an interesting part. What I instructed the team to do was anybody who was like a real estate broker, a money manager, a sales executive, a business development person, I said, let's not have them there. No offense to those, critical functions, but a lot of people will come to these events to sell and get customers. But I said, anybody who's a builder, an artist, they're making something in the world, let's give them the priority for the scholarship tickets. So, when you met people, they were all building something interesting in the world. And no press, I think, also created a certain vibe there. We didn't have the media there criticizing every panel and, every speaker. And so I think it just, made it somewhat magical. Well, I think it really couldn't do it without all you guys and Friedberg and the Besties and Brad, you were helping behind the scenes. So couldn't do it without everybody and my team, great job.
It turned out surprisingly well, I thought. I thought the whole thing was a JCal grift, and it actually turned out. Well,
there was some grifting going on for sure.
We still haven't seen an accounting of exactly where all the money went. So
it's this close. We'll have that accounting any day now, Sacks. Any day now.
What could you have done better? What would you change for the next time?
It's a great question. We always do a document with lessons learned right after the event. So I went through my team, and I had 26 people from my team. 21 from launch, and I think 5 from Insight came and helped staff the event. A little more time to work on the speakers and the agenda. If we had a little more time, I would have teased out of each bestie, maybe 5 or 10 speakers or topics they wanted and worked backwards. So just a little more time to experiment with the format. But I took an experimental approach to it. We did have people who did solo dolo, like TED style talks. We then had people come on stage with the besties and do discussions, but having all besties on stage all the time is a little hard for everybody. I know David likes to focus on maybe a couple of things. Other people like Chamath and I like to be on stage for everything, I think. But the format was experimental, and there was a couple of great moments, I think, when we overlapped folks. So I think Nate Silver overlapped with Keith Raboy, you and Bill Gurley together. Tim Urban, overlapped with Keith Raboy. Those were magical moments, I think. And so I have something in my brain about weaving individual talks and data points with the besties and then having the next speaker on the stage, the next speaker. And I would have liked to have more time to refine that format, I think.
Okay, my only question is, was the Palmer Lucky deal, was that a plant? Did you plan that?
No.
Did you secretly put that in there?
I'll tell you the backstory is I had invited him on This Week in Startups before All In came out. Many times he said, fuck you, basically, in so many words. I hate JCal. And then when All In came out, he's a fan of this show. I think he's particularly a fan of David Sacks's. And I think David knows a lot of the investors, the investor pools, I think, overlap in a lot of different circles of ours. And I said, would you like to come to the summit? And I basically said to him heartfelt, like, listen, I think the work you're doing to protect the country, most people in Silicon Valley don't believe in building weapon systems, but I kind of am with you on this. So we probably have some common ground here. I think the mission of what you're doing is more important than our disagreement from, the Hillary Clinton versus Trump days. Maybe we could just, put that aside and have you speak. And surprisingly, these people were like, yes. I didn't know they were doing yes because he had a plot to dunk on me, but who cares? I don't mind being dunked on. If I'm wrong about something or I'm right, it's the whole spirit of this show is to learn and grow and have great conversations. So with that, maybe we start the show now.
Let's do it.
All right, let's go. Let me. Am I still allowed to do intros, or is it too triggering? Because I do have intros for this week.
Do it.
You say do it? Okay, I got thumbs up.
Only if they're nice.
Well, that's a caveat that I cannot guarantee. But anyway, here we go. Getting ready to gallivant across the Italian countryside, he spent $40K at All In Summit on food and wine. He took 400 selfies in 3 hours. Those sweaters, my lord, they reek of power. The dictator himself is back. Chamath Palihapitiya, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Jason.
All right. His body looks like he doesn't eat cake. He's got a major stake in Snowflake. You might have heard him earlier on the week with Bill Gurley. He's the crossover fund manager with that BDE. Our fifth bestie, the audience hangs on every word he has to say. The Dark Knight of Namaste. Welcome back to the program, Brad Gerstner.
I like it.
What's BDE?
If you don't know, then you don't know. You can look that up, Urban Dictionary. He's about to turn 50, but he looks like he's 65. After 72 hours in Miami, we're not sure he's still alive. The Crypt Keeper is jealous of the bags under his eyes. His portfolio has been down for 35 straight days. No surprise. The Rain Man himself is back. David Sacks.
All right.
Too rough on Sacks?
No, it's okay.
Is it okay? I felt like I might have gone too rough.